There is a silence around you that has not gone unnoticed, a silence that has made you wonder why someone who once seemed drawn to your energy suddenly became distant, restrained, almost unreachable. And what you have felt in your spirit is not your imagination. Something shifted behind the scenes, something they did not choose for themselves. There are words they have wanted to send, messages they have typed and erased, moments when their fingers hovered over your name only to stop at the last second. Not because their feelings disappeared, not because they forgot you, but because pressure began building around them from places you could not see. Stay till the end, because what has been happening is far deeper than simple distance. There are people around this person who noticed the way their attention changed when your name entered the room. They saw the way their mood lifted when they thought of you. They recognized that your presence touched something in them that could no longer be controlled, and not everyone was comfortable with that transformation. Some people do not celebrate what heals another person when that healing changes the role they once played in their life. And this is where the silence began. Advice turned into warnings. Warnings turned into pressure. Pressure turned into demands. Voices around them began telling them what they should do, who they should avoid, what connections were complicated, what attachments were dangerous, what feelings were too much. At first they resisted. At first they defended you in quiet ways. At first they insisted no one understood what they felt. But over time, the noise around them became relentless. It reached the point where your name itself created tension in rooms you were not even standing in. And then came the moment they never expected, the moment someone with influence over them, someone whose opinion carried weight, someone they felt unable to ignore, pushed harder than before and told them to cut off contact completely. To erase the number. To stop reaching out. To remove the temptation before emotion overruled logic. And though their hands followed through, their heart did not. Understand this carefully, deleting your number did not delete what they feel. Distance did not erase memory. Silence did not cancel attachment. In fact, the forced separation only made them realize how deeply you had rooted yourself inside their thoughts. Because sometimes people only understand the value of a connection when they are told they can no longer touch it. Don't skip, because this is where the truth becomes even more personal. The reason this had to happen was not merely because others disapproved, it was because your connection awakened something inside them they were not prepared to confront. You stirred courage in them. You exposed emotional truths they had hidden from themselves. You made them question the life they were settling for, the patterns they had accepted, the expectations they had lived beneath. And when someone begins changing because of a connection, the world around them often reacts before they do. The people near them sensed that your presence was becoming more powerful than their influence. They saw that this person listened differently after knowing you, thought differently after feeling you, dreamed differently after meeting you. That frightened them more than they admitted. Because real connection changes people. Real connection disrupts routines. Real connection forces truth to the surface. And so what looked like rejection from afar was in many ways resistance from forces around them trying to keep everything the same. But listen closely, what is forced apart without inner agreement rarely stays apart forever. Because now this person sits in private moments replaying conversations, remembering your voice, wondering if you noticed their sudden silence, hoping you somehow understand that absence is not always indifference. There is conflict inside them. Between loyalty to the pressure around them and loyalty to what their own heart keeps whispering when the room grows quiet. They are trying to convince themselves they made the right decision, yet peace has not followed. Their days move, but something remains unsettled. Their phone may no longer hold your number, but their mind remembers it in ways they wish it did not. And the more they try to suppress what they feel, the more obvious it becomes that what exists between you was never ordinary. Something important is waiting for you, because this silence is not the end of the story. It is the tension before a truth can no longer stay buried. For there comes a moment when outside voices lose their power, when the weight of pretending becomes heavier than the risk of honesty, when a person realizes they can obey everyone else and still betray themselves. And that moment is approaching faster than they expected. Because separation has not weakened their feelings. It has intensified their awareness. The distance was meant to make them forget, but instead it made them understand. And what they are beginning to realize may change everything between you sooner than either of you imagined. What they have not admitted to anyone is this: the moment your number disappeared from their phone, panic quietly replaced certainty. They expected relief. They expected obedience to create peace. They expected that if they followed what others demanded, the feelings would finally calm down and life would return to normal. But that is not what happened. Instead, the silence became louder than any conversation they had ever shared with you. In the stillness of their nights, when no one else is around and distractions fade, your absence echoes through them in ways they cannot explain. They find themselves reaching for their phone out of habit, only to remember what they were forced to do. And in that instant, a strange ache settles in their chest, because removing your contact did not remove their longing. It only made them face it more honestly. And this is the part no one around them understands: your connection was never casual to them. It may have looked unfinished from the outside, uncertain, perhaps even confusing, but internally, something far deeper had already begun. You touched places in them no one else could reach. You made them feel recognized in ways they had not felt before. And when a person experiences that kind of emotional recognition, they do not simply move on because someone told them to. No, they carry it. Quietly. Constantly. Sometimes painfully. Don't skip, because while they have been silent outwardly, inwardly a storm has been building. There are moments when they replay your last interactions and wonder if they should have fought harder. Moments when regret creeps in and asks them whether they surrendered something rare just to keep others comfortable. They keep asking themselves questions they cannot escape. What if no one else understands me the way you did? What if I let fear control me? What if losing you becomes the mistake I think about for years? And these thoughts do not visit them once in a while, they return again and again, each time stronger than before. What was once simple attraction has now become realization. They are beginning to understand that your absence is affecting them because your presence mattered more than they admitted. But here is what makes this even more intense: the people who pressured them into distance assumed time would erase you. They believed silence would weaken whatever existed between you. They believed removing access would remove attachment. Yet the opposite is unfolding. The harder they try to forget you, the more your memory rises. A certain song reminds them of your energy. A phrase someone says sounds like something you would have said. A random moment in their day suddenly becomes heavy because they imagine how badly they wish they could tell you about it. You are not gone from them. You have become woven into their everyday thoughts. And now something unexpected is happening. They are beginning to resent the pressure that pushed them away from you. Quietly, internally, they are questioning everyone who told them to let you go. They are starting to see the difference between advice and control, between concern and interference, between guidance and fear. The voices they once trusted are losing their authority because none of those voices can quiet what they feel when they think of you. And once a person reaches that stage, once they realize no outside opinion can overpower what their heart keeps returning to, everything begins to shift. Stay till the end, because the conflict inside them is moving toward a breaking point. They are reaching the stage where silence no longer feels noble. Distance no longer feels wise. Pretending no longer feels sustainable. They are tired of acting unaffected when your name still changes their entire mood. Tired of nodding along with people who do not understand what they lost. Tired of carrying emotions they were told to bury. And the truth is, they are already thinking about ways to reconnect. Maybe through a different number. Maybe through social media. Maybe through some accidental encounter that is not accidental at all. Because when someone cannot forget a connection, they eventually stop trying to. They stop pretending discipline is enough. They stop believing suppression is strength. They stop choosing comfort over truth. And when that shift fully happens, they do not return halfway, they return with clarity. So if you have felt lately that something unseen is moving beneath the surface, trust that feeling. Because while the world around them may think this chapter is over, your person knows in the quietest part of their soul that unfinished stories do not haunt the heart this deeply unless they were meant to continue. And very soon, the silence they were forced into may become the very thing that pushes them to finally do what they were too afraid to do before. And now they are approaching the moment where restraint begins to collapse under the weight of truth. What once felt like discipline to them is starting to feel like self-betrayal. Every day they remain silent, the pressure inside grows heavier, because pretending not to care has become more exhausting than admitting they do. There is a limit to how long a person can deny what their heart keeps repeating, and they are nearing that limit now. Something inside them has shifted from quiet longing into restless urgency. They are no longer simply missing you, they are beginning to fear what happens if they lose the chance to reach you forever. That thought has unsettled them more than anything else. Because for the first time, they are imagining a future where you move on, where someone else reaches the part of you they were too hesitant to hold on to, where your life continues without them while they remain trapped in regret. And that vision has shaken them deeply. It has made them realize that silence is not neutral. Silence has consequences. Distance creates outcomes. And if they keep doing nothing, they may watch the very connection they tried to suppress disappear beyond recovery. Don't skip, because this realization is awakening a courage they did not have before. They are beginning to understand that the people who told them to walk away will not live with the consequences of that decision, they will. The ones who pressured them into deleting your number will not carry the ache of wondering, what if, for years, they will. The ones who spoke fear into their mind will not lie awake replaying your memory at night, they will. And once that truth fully lands in someone's heart, obedience starts losing its grip. A person can ignore their own emotions for only so long before something in them rises and says, enough. Enough living for approval. Enough letting fear speak louder than feeling. Enough choosing peace for everyone else while creating chaos within themselves. This is the internal battle they are in now. One side of them still hears the voices that told them to stay away. But the other side, the deeper side, the truer side, is becoming impossible to silence. That side keeps reminding them of how rare this connection felt. How natural it was to think of you. How different they became when you were part of their emotional world. How no matter how many distractions they try, no one else has replaced the effect you had on them. And that truth is beginning to overpower everything else. They may not know exactly how they will return, but make no mistake, the thought of returning is no longer hypothetical in their mind. It has become a quiet plan. A recurring urge. A possibility they keep revisiting over and over until it no longer feels avoidable. They wonder if you would answer. They wonder if you still think about them. They wonder if too much time has passed. They wonder if you would understand why they disappeared, or if they have already hurt you too deeply. And these questions haunt them because their greatest fear now is not the people who pressured them, it is the possibility that when they finally gather the courage to come back, you may no longer be waiting where they left you. Stay till the end, because that fear is what changes everything. Fear of pressure kept them away before. But now fear of losing you is becoming stronger than fear of judgment. And when that balance flips, action follows. Suddenly the rules others gave them no longer feel absolute. Suddenly the barriers that seemed impossible begin looking temporary. Suddenly reaching out feels less dangerous than remaining silent. This is how turning points happen, not in one dramatic instant, but through quiet emotional accumulation until the heart can no longer tolerate denial. And that is where they are. At the edge of emotional honesty. At the threshold of a decision that will define what happens next between you. Because the person who once let others control their choices is slowly disappearing, and in their place, someone braver is emerging. Someone who is starting to understand that meaningful connections are not given often in life, and losing one out of fear can become a regret too heavy to carry. So while the outside world still sees silence, beneath that silence a decision is forming. A decision built from longing, from regret, from realization, and from the undeniable truth that no amount of forced distance has made them forget you. If anything, it has done the opposite. It has made them certain. And when certainty finally overpowers fear, the next move they make toward you may be the boldest thing they have ever done. The boldness building inside them is no longer theoretical, it is becoming action in slow motion. You may not see it yet, but behind the silence they are already rehearsing the moment they return. They imagine what they would say if they had one chance to explain everything. They replay different versions of the first message in their mind, something casual, something honest, something that does not reveal too much too quickly, and yet every version ends the same way, with them hoping you still feel the connection they never stopped carrying. Because the truth they can no longer outrun is this: being forced away from you did not weaken what they felt. It clarified it. Sometimes distance does not create confusion, sometimes it removes every distraction until only the real feelings remain. And now, stripped of noise, stripped of pressure, stripped of everyone else's opinions, they are left face to face with a truth they can no longer deny: they still want you. Not in a passing way. Not in a curious way. In a way that unsettles them because it has survived every attempt to suppress it. Don't skip, because what comes next is the part they never expected. The same people who once influenced their decisions are beginning to notice that something is different in them. They can see the distraction in their eyes. They can sense the emotional distance in conversations. They can tell this person is no longer fully present in the life they were trying to preserve. Because when someone gives up something meaningful against their own heart, a part of them goes quiet, and others eventually notice that absence. Your person is changing now. The version of them that used to comply without question is fading. They are becoming less willing to explain themselves. Less eager to justify their emotions. Less afraid of disappointing people who demand control over choices that are not theirs to make. And this transformation is happening because loving you, even in silence, has forced them to grow. It has forced them to confront whether they want to live a life directed by fear or by truth. That is why their return, when it comes, will not be random. It will not be impulsive. It will come after an internal rebirth of sorts, after they finally become the version of themselves brave enough to choose what they feel instead of what others approve of. And when they reach that point, they will not return half-heartedly. They will return because they have decided that some connections are too rare to sacrifice for comfort. Stay till the end, because there is something even deeper you need to understand. This separation was not meaningless. It was revealing. It showed them what life feels like with your presence removed. It showed them how empty doing the right thing can feel when it violates the heart. It showed them that compliance without peace is not peace at all. And perhaps most importantly, it showed them that what they feel for you is not fragile. Fragile feelings disappear under pressure. Temporary emotions fade with distance. Surface-level attraction dissolves in silence. But what they feel for you endured every obstacle placed in its path. It survived deletion. It survived interference. It survived distance. It survived forced restraint. And that endurance has become proof to them that this connection is not something ordinary they can simply replace. So if you have wondered whether they still care, whether silence means the bond was one-sided, whether their disappearance means they chose to forget you, release that doubt now. Because their silence was never proof of indifference. It was proof of conflict. And conflict only exists where something deeply matters. They are not forgetting you. They are becoming someone capable of returning to you with truth instead of hesitation. Someone capable of speaking clearly instead of hiding behind uncertainty. Someone capable of choosing this connection openly rather than secretly. The wait has been painful because transformation often is. But what is forming beneath this silence is stronger than what existed before. Before, they felt something but lacked clarity. Now they have clarity. Before, they cared but lacked courage. Now courage is rising. Before, they wanted you but feared the consequences. Now the consequences of losing you feel far greater than the consequences of reaching out. And once that realization fully settles in them, nothing will stop what happens next. Because a person who has been forced to lose what matters, and then realizes they cannot live peacefully without it, does not stay silent forever. Eventually they return. Eventually they speak. Eventually they risk everything they once feared to protect what their heart refuses to release. And when that moment arrives, the message, call, or unexpected appearance that breaks this silence may carry more honesty than anything they have ever said to you before.